Hey guys, so in today's video I'm going to be talking about weight loss plateaus and how to break through them. It's a question that bothers a lot of people. I've been asked many times in the comments section. So here we go. What happens with the weight loss plateaus, right? What is a weight loss plateau? Weight loss plateau is basically, or fat loss plateau. You are on the same, even though you're dieting, you are on the same weight and it just doesn't seem like the scale is changing at all, okay? So this is what we call a fat loss plateau. Now, the problem with fat loss plateaus is that most people think that they are still supposed to be losing weight. Well, on the other hand, they don't lose it. That's why it's called a plateau. And to be able to address the situation, the issue at hand, you need to ask yourself certain questions, okay? To make sure that you are basically on the same page, we are on the same page, and then you know how to deal with it, okay? So the first question that you need to ask yourself, forget about your diet, right? I don't care if you're on keto, if you're on, if you're a vegan, if you're, I don't know, fasting for, 20 days, I don't care. Are you in a caloric deficit? Okay, the first question. Most people assume they are, which is really funny. I swear to you, like a lot of people think that they are on a caloric deficit when they're on a diet, while in fact they are not, okay? So this is the first question you need to ask yourself. Are you really on a caloric deficit? And if you are, tell me why. How do you know that you're on a caloric deficit, okay? So what happens with these caloric deficits is that, let's assume the best first, okay, the best example, and then I'm going to go to a little bit worse ones. The best example is that you're following a strict diet, okay? So you know your food intake, you're doing your exercise regularly, and so on. But what happens is that normally for weight loss, you're not going to be able to cut your calories by like thousands and thousands, right? You're most likely going to be on a caloric deficit for like a few hundred calories or so on. So I mentioned it in my other videos. I don't know which one, but check my other videos. I told you that when you are on a caloric deficit for a certain period of time, your body eventually, because this is how we are built basically, okay? This is our survival instincts. Our needs will be lowered, okay? It will be decreased significantly even when you are not aware, which is the tricky part, okay? So subconsciously, your body will decrease your need levels, which is the non-exercise activity, okay? So when your exercise activity decreases, which means that you burn less calories than you normally are. So normally in a good day, let's say, okay, with your exercises, daily exercise, what I mean by that, when I'm talking, I'm doing these, right? I'm moving my hands, right? This is an exercise activity. If I was on a caloric deficit for so long, maybe you would see me like, like everything would be changed. My body would be slower. So this is your non-exercise activity. So your body will decrease those subconsciously if you're on a caloric deficit for a long period of time, okay? So this is one of the first things. So you need to pay attention to those, okay? You need to be able to understand whether you are subconsciously decreasing your exercise, the non-exercise activity, all right? So this is one of the things. Secondly, a worse example, there are some people, even though they're on a strict diet, they still like to taste this and, have a bite of that and bite of this and stuff like that. Don't do that. Very simple solution, okay? Because you're not going to be able to track your calories properly. You're going to forget a lot of things. And it happens way, way more often than you think. So if you're doing that, stop doing that. It's going to be very difficult for you, okay? So, another thing that I need to mention, when you're on a weight loss plateau, right? How long has it been? Has it been like 1 week, 2 weeks or so, okay? So one of the things that comes with dieting for a long period of time, the weight loss plateau that you think you are having might be your body retention of water, okay? So you might be retaining more water, basically, the bodily fluid, basically, all right? So how that's happen? Why does it happen? So it's actually another funny, tricky part of our bodies, basically. So what happens is that it might be stress, right? You might be under stress from work, life, or even dieting itself. So when you're on high stress levels, your body will retain more water. And the funny thing about water is that you retain it pretty much at the same places where your fat will be. All right. And that's going to be very hard to distinguish whether you're holding fat or you're holding water. Okay. It might just be water. You might be still losing fat, but you don't know if it is water or not. Okay. This might be the case. So if you know exactly when you troubleshoot after following this video, it might be water and you might come to that conclusion afterwards. All right. So, and also another thing is that sleep deprivation, right? I mentioned this in another video also. When you're not having a lot of sleep, right? Like first thing is that most likely you're going to be feeling more hungry. You might be eating a little bit more than you think you are. And also another thing is that when you're not having enough sleep, your body will also try to retain more water, okay? So this is another thing. Another is that you might be craving for salty food, or your salt intake might increase during weight loss, okay? So for example, that happened with me as well. When you're dieting for a longer period of time, right, your body will start to crave for salt. And when you are craving for salt, you're going to consume more salty stuff, which is completely fine, by the way. But the problem is that when you're consuming more salty stuff, at the same time, because your salt intake is increasing, your body wants to adjust those pH levels, right? Then you're going to have to drink more fluids. And the more fluids with salt, combined with salt, this is very simple, you will retain more water. So this is another thing, all right? So make sure that, you know, it is not water retention, basically, when you think that you're on a weight loss plateau. Consistency problems. Why do you think that, you know, when I was dieting, I showed you my exact diet, right? Check the video. In the very end of it, I was following a very strict diet, right? In terms of food that I was consuming. The main reason for that, I didn't mention it like for too long. I did mention a little bit point. It makes it easier actually, because having a diet fatigue is a real thing. And also when you're dieting for a longer period of time, psychologically, you're going to be fatigued as well. Okay. So it's better to just forget about that thinking aspect of what you're going to be having, because when your hunger levels keep constantly increasing, and if you don't have what you want to eat, or if you haven't decided what you're going to be eating, it's going to be very hard to stick to a caloric deficit, okay? So make sure that you're consistent with your diet, that you're following it, okay? One of the things that people, you know, you hear that all the time, right? When it comes to like weight loss or, you know, training and all that kind of stuff. Consistency, right? Everyone says, oh, consistency is key. Consistency is key. Consistency is key doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, you do your workout every day and like that's it. Consistency is key is that you should be able to do stuff that you can track your progress, okay? Once you can track your progress, then you will be consistent with whatever you're doing, okay? And that's why most of the people, look, all the pros and all these people who do this for a living, they don't just do like random stuff, okay? When the time comes for dieting, whatever diet they're following, they will try to stick to a certain thing because that is going to make it easier for them to track. So, now let's go to another part. Have you been dieting for too long, right? So this is another thing. So what do I mean by dieting for too long? Okay, so you've seen my transformation, right? So I dieted for 6 months. So 6 months is too long for most people, all right? Not everyone can actually do that kind of a extended period of diet consistently, because I was on a caloric deficit the whole time, right? So, and you've seen my body transformation. I mean, like, I'm always honest with you, like 100%, right? My body transformation is just an example of what a human can do, basically, when you put your mind to it, right? Don't try to go for like 6 months, okay? For most other people, if you are on an actual caloric deficit, like actual dieting, right? I would say maybe 3 months, 4 months, give or take, right? This is like already getting a little bit too long for your diet. What is more recommended and what makes it actually easier for people, because we want your diet to be sustainable, right? We don't want you to rebound basically after a diet. Like, I don't want you to lose 20 pounds just to gain like another 15 pounds in a month, right? So this is not the goal. The goal is to get rid of the weight and then sustain it. So with your diet, if you are doing an actual diet and you're tracking your progress, after like 3 or 4 months, you might be having diet fatigue, okay? So, and diet fatigue affects like a lot of stuff, including, just as I said, your needs basically, right? And then it's going to be difficult for managing your hunger levels, going to be getting very, very difficult, okay? By the time you're like, going for another like, 1 month or so, like after like 4 months or deficit or so on, your hunger levels will constantly, for example, let's say on a normal day, your hunger levels are like this, you're on a diet, it's like this, but this stuff keeps increasing, all right? So after like 4 months, 5 months, you're like basically kind of feel like starving every day, okay? It comes to these levels. So we don't want that, right? Because coming back down will be way difficult the higher you are, okay? So this is why, like, for example, you do like 3 months and then coming back is like a lot easier, okay? Then you can start again if you need to. But if you're like this high, it's going to be way, way, way difficult, and there's a higher chance that you're going to be rebounding, okay? And we don't want that for sure, okay? So diet fatigue is a real thing. Make sure that you're avoiding that. How do you avoid that? Basically, after you get a certain level, don't do it after like 1 month or 2 months or something, okay? Most people can go easily for 2 months, I would say, okay? So don't convince yourself that after 1 month of dieting, you're having diet fatigue. It is not, very unlikely, okay? Let's be real. And toughen up a little bit, right? Another factor is that psychologically, it is going to be very tough on you. Your hormone levels will change. It is going to affect you subconsciously. It's going to basically release the a-hole inside of you. Even though you're not one, you might end up being one while you are on a very long, extended caloric deficit. What you do basically to get rid of diet fatigue? Well, you try to go back to a maintenance level, okay? This is going to be also a good adjustment period for you. And when you're at your maintenance level, try to stay there. So when you're thinking about the whole dieting, you're not going to feel as hungry. You're going to be consuming like proper stuff, and then try to go for like, if you've been dieting, let's say for 2 months, try to go at least 1 month on maintenance, right? If you've been dieting for 3 months, I don't know, 1.5 months, 2 months maybe, right? Or even 3 months if you can do it, right? Because you need to get rid of the diet fatigue. It's really difficult actually. So when you're on a diet fatigue, after like, let's say you've been dieting for 6 months, let's say like me, I swear to you, after 1 month, if you ask me to diet again, I would never be able to, okay? I'm not gonna say never, but like, I wouldn't want to. Okay, it was really, really that hard. The willpower, it basically drains you, you understand? Another thing, okay, so one thing I see is that there are a lot of people also who don't like to do any kind of weightlifting or resistance training. So first off, I would really recommend, even if you don't like going to the gym, you can do something with your body weight, okay? It is very good. When you're losing weight, it's better to have a better shape, right? Because one of the reasons that you're losing weight is most likely because you want a better structured body. And having a little bit of muscle makes that body look much better, more toned, right? Having more muscle mass on your frame makes dieting easier. Why? Because when you're carrying more muscle, you're burning more calories by default, which means you can eat more and still be able to lose weight. So weightlifting is a good thing. If you're not doing that, when you're on a weight loss plateau, you can try including that, and it's going to be very helpful as well, even if you build just a little bit of muscle. And on the other hand, of course, that's also another exercise, so it's going to burn calories, so that's another good thing, okay? As for your cardio, when you think, or when you're assuming that, or when you're actually on a weight loss plateau, what about your cardio? So are you doing any cardio? If you're not, of course, start doing cardio. And if you are you doing a cardio that you can actually track, just like your calories? So try to pick something that you can accurately track, okay? So for example, let's say you're like running. That's why I told you, even like with walking, right? I was telling you, like, count the laps, right? Increase the laps, or count the laps. So you know like how many laps you're doing. And also that includes the time as well, right? In that case. That brings me back to the first point where I mentioned your body subconsciously decreases the calories you're spending with exercise, with any activity basically, okay? Exercise and non-exercise. So this also happens. So you need to make sure that you're able to track how much calorie you're burning with your cardio and so on. So once you answer these questions, I'm sure you're going to be able to find the answer in one of those, and that's going to solve your weight loss problems. All right. So hope you enjoyed the video. Give me a like if you liked it, and share with your friends if they're having like weight loss problems, and subscribe to the channel. Oh, also, of course, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to comment, because I always reply to the questions, especially with this kind of topics that I mentioned. That's like commonly misunderstood, or like, you know, not everyone understands exactly what's going on. So thanks again, and I'll see you on the next one.